My name is Moon Petrie, and this video starts with a disclaimer. And it no longer quite such a baby. So I am not an expert in querying in any way, and this is not an advice video. I am about a month into my first attempt at querying a book. So I am just here to talk about why I approached it the way I chose to approach it, what I am happy with about the choices that I have made. I hope to revisit this later as a more experienced querier and, check back in about what I have learned since and what I would do differently. This is just, here is what got me to the point I'm at and why I decided to do things the way I did. So the book I am querying, I finished the first draft in late 2018. So I revised it for 2.5 years. Did I just revise it for 2.5 years? No, I did other stuff too, and that was an important choice for me. Other things I did in the meantime included writing 3 1/3 other first drafts and doing some first revisions on a couple of those and getting a lot of beta readers. I was disorganized in the beta process at first and did not have clarity on what round of revision I was in, and had some betas still reading an older version while I was giving a new version to other betas. It was a learning curve. I had to do some stuff and just figure it out as I went. And I'm glad that I took the time to do that. And my final beta round with that book was much more concise and successful. And I'm glad about that, but I also am glad for the feedback I got earlier on, however disorganized I was in getting that feedback and keeping track of my changes. The book I gave to my last batch of beta readers was a lot better than the book I gave to my first batch of beta readers. I don't even know, I would say 3 rounds of betas, but it was sloppier than that. So a lot of beta readers helped in making the book a lot better than it was at the end of 2018. I also was a beta reader repeatedly, and that was super helpful as well. Just in terms of reading critically and in terms of understanding what people might ask their beta readers about, and ways that I could approach my beta readers in future rounds. And I can't recommend being a beta reader highly enough. I don't think people talk about this enough. It is great for your own writing, and it is great for fine-tuning your beta process with having people read your work. So being a beta reader was fantastic, and I hope to do more of that in the future. Getting to the end with other drafts and leaving them to sit for months at a time, going back and taking first passes and developing a better critical eye and figuring out what worked, and all of these steps that were not directly connected to the book I am querying still were really, really helpful in making that book better. So when people give querying advice, start something new is always on the list. I am very busy in general, and I don't feel like without a new writing project I would be able to constantly check my inbox for responses to queries or anything like that. I know that the distraction from the query process of having something new to work on is huge for a lot of people. My life is just full of nonstop distraction. I'm keeping track of several children at once right now. You can stay there. It's fine as long as you're quiet, or go that way and not go out behind me. But for me, it's also the sense of not having all my eggs in one basket. So if I was starting fresh, if I was revising and revising and revising and then sending that off and starting at square one, drafting again for the first time in a long time, I think that would be really intimidating. And so I'm not doing that. I already have multiple things drafted. I already know I can write another book because I have written another book a few times. And I am in process with revising other things. I have beta feedback from one of them, and I am in a revision process now. And so I feel like if I am not able to secure representation with this first book that I'm querying, I'm not just starting something new now. I am revising something solid and have other new things that I'll be able to revise next. I have a plan of what book I'm going to query next and what book I'll query after that if I still am in the querying process. And I've heard, I have not checked, but I've heard that statistically a writer is most likely to obtain representation with the third book that they query. So I have plans. I have my first 3 books to query planned, and I am in process. So that makes me feel like this can be query practice. This is query 101, and I can have low expectations, and just like I did with those first rounds of betas with the first book that I really finished and revised, it can be a learning process, and I can get to a point where I say, I wish I had done this differently, and not feel horrendous regret about it. That is where I am at. I'm gonna keep querying this book probably for several months until I have another book ready. I plan on continuous querying, and so I guess I better get used to it. I can't get too stressed out about it. If that's just gonna be my reality for, possibly a few years. Thus far, it's been pretty easy to keep my spirits up, and I think that the way I have approached it is a big part of why I am able to stay so positive and why I feel like the pressure isn't super high. So I say that, but when I'm triple checking the form or the email and making sure that I have the correct salutation and that I have put their name in, and that in those last minute little tweaks I didn't leave the word "in" written twice side by side, or that where I've pasted I haven't messed up my formatting completely. So in those moments, yes, it's a little tense, but I'm trying to focus on how it's exciting, and it's also not the end of the world if this book is not the one that gets me an agent. Until next time, I am Moon Petrie, and I hope whatever stage of the process you are at, you are being gracious with yourself, recognizing that we are all on a path of learning, and we don't have to have everything figured out as long as we're willing to keep trying.